impact to spring? So if we're thinking of the main idea, we summarized this and we said it was mainly about the spring equinox. What sentence in here do we think could be kind of our main idea of the paragraph, or kind of like our thesis sentence? Okay, I'm going to go with, this is called spring equinox. Okay, because it's telling us exactly what this whole thing is about. And then a lot of the other things in here are going to be telling us details about the spring equinox. When does it start? What is it about? Why does it happen? So kind of answering questions about this particular topic. Okay, we're going to get to that later. Next sentence, or next paragraph. I put that it warms up in March. Okay, so we're kind of looking at what sentence in here is telling us it warms up in March, or did that give us our main idea? In March, the weather is warmer. There is more rain in the spring. Many plants become dormant during the winter. This helps them save energy. In some places, the ground is frozen over the winter. When the ground thaws, the seeds underground start to sprout. Plants and flowers grow again. What do you think? In March, the weather is warmer. Good. All right, next one. Okay, the next one. Oh, I'm just so not good at this yet. I'm learning with you guys. Animals. Okay, so that's what we said our main idea was, is animals. So let's go ahead and read and figure out what our main idea sentence is. In the spring, there is more food for animals. Hibernating animals become active. Migrating animals that went south return. Some animals build new nests. Others dig new burrows. Okay, this one's a little bit more complicated. This one doesn't necessarily give us a main idea sentence. It doesn't have a sentence that kind of tells us what the whole entire paragraph is going to be about. It kind of just includes animals in every single sentence. So we are able to know that the main idea is animals, because every single sentence has a detail about animals. So if I was going to critique this particular piece of writing, I would say, why don't you add a sentence that's going to help us to understand what this is about? How about you guys do that? Add a sentence. Go ahead right here, right above in the spring. Add a sentence that starts us off, that tells us what this paragraph is going to be about, so that we don't just start reading and see all these things about, oh, these are all things that are happening for animals. Tell us the main idea. Okay, so I'm going to add one, and I'll have you guys add one as well. Okay, it can be complex, it can be simple. I wrote, during the spring equinox, animals do new things. Simple. Okay, it just tells us what this sentence is going to be about. So I'm going to underline my sentence. So I'm actually glad that one didn't have a super clear main idea, because it allowed you guys to kind of have the ability to add a main idea. So that was actually really awesome. And then last paragraph. After the spring equinox, the daylight hours grow longer. Children are outside more. Because there's more rain, people are careful of storms. In some places, there are severe thunderstorms or even tornadoes. Many things change in the spring. All right, I want you to take a minute and think about what What could be our main idea? Go ahead and underline it when you think you know. Okay. So here's proof. It doesn't have to always be at the beginning. Many times you will find that the main idea is at the beginning of the paragraph, but not always. So here it is at the very end. Many things change in spring. So, I mean, over here I wrote many changes. You know, I'm looking for that. So I found it. Many things change in the spring. Perfect. Awesome. There you go. So in blue on our page, we have all of the main ideas of each individual paragraph. Okay, so we've talked about paragraphing a lot this year, and this is a good example of a way to show you kind of how they've separated each paragraph and how to know when to separate paragraphs. So sometimes you wonder, when do I change paragraphs? When do I make another paragraph? Because a lot of times you guys are writing and just like you're writing everything all together. So the way that you know is because this paragraph is not about the same things as this paragraph. They're completely different. So you have to separate them so that it makes it clear for the reader what it's all about. So they have separated each of these things very clearly so we know what we're reading about, okay? So we have a main idea in each of these. And then the other part of the writing is ways to support that idea, which is what we're going to talk about next. So put away your color and grab another one. I'm going to grab green. Yours doesn't have to be green. You can do whatever color you want. So now we found our main ideas. So what we have to do next is we have to find support, okay? So support for those main ideas, like what is written that is going to prove it or to help give you more information about that particular thing. So let's co-read it again. So we've read this 3 times, I think. So we're going to be reading it a 4th. This is called close reading. I'm not sure if I said that already or not, but close reading is a really awesome skill. It's basically where you're going through. I don't remember if I said it. I'm sorry. It's a skill to kind of help you to really dig into a text. So sometimes when we close read, we can read it 8 times and look for something different every single time and kind of use the paper and write all over the paper. It's a really awesome skill so that you can kind of dig deep into the text, okay? So this time, when we read it, we're looking for the details that support our main ideas. So it's easy to find the main ideas because we underline it in blue on mine or whatever color you used. So we underline our main idea. Now we need to think, hey, does this sentence support that main idea? Does it help me to know more about that main idea, okay? The first day of spring is March 20th. Is that day called spring equinox? It is. So I'm going to underline that. So that's a detail. It's a detail that supports my main idea. On this day, the length of day and night are equal. We're going to leave that one for now because it has to do with that first one, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. Okay, this is called the spring equinox. It happens because of the Earth's tilt and orbit around the sun. Okay, so the spring equinox happens because of the Earth's tilt and orbit around the sun. Perfect. So let's go ahead and underline that because it is telling us more about this thing called the spring equinox and why it happens. Science is a big part of this season. Science is a big part of this season. Does that support spring equinox? Does that tell us more about spring equinox? Not really. It tells us more about this portion, the Earth's tilt and orbit around the sun. So that is going to be a detail of the detail, which is what we're going to be talking about next. Plants, animals, and people adapt to spring. Is that something that happens in spring equinox? Yes. So that's something that we're going to underline here. So you might be saying, I'm confused. Because those other sentences that we didn't underline yet, Those other sentences are support as well. You're right, okay? They are support for the entire paragraph as a whole. But these are kind of more secondary details. So there's something called primary details and secondary details. So primary details are the ones that directly support what our main idea is. So they like tell us directly something about it. The secondary details kind of tell us a little bit more about that primary detail, okay? And so we're going to look for secondary details next. So if you're confused about that, that's okay. Right now we're just looking for primary details. So we're looking for like the big things that really tell us a whole lot about that particular thing. So you kind of want to look at that sentence and say, in that sentence, does that tell me something very specific about what I underlined? Yes or no? Okay, so let's continue with that, and hopefully it'll start to make sense. If not, we'll keep practicing with this. This is only the first time that we're doing a close read like this with main idea and details, so just bear with me. All right, second paragraph. In March, the weather is warmer. There is more rain in the spring. Many plants become dormant during the winter. This helps save them energy. In some places, the ground is... Oh, sorry, I'm not supposed to be reading the whole thing. Let me pause. Teaching in front of a camera is just so different for me, guys. This is weird. In March, the weather is warmer. There is more rain in the spring. What do you think? I'm going to leave that one up to you. So this one's a little bit confusing because we're talking about the weather being warmer. So I think that some of you might have written just weather or weather in the spring or warming in the spring. But this was kind of our main idea. So I'm going to say yes to it being a main idea. A supporting detail. So I think yes, we do underline it because they're giving us a little bit more information about the weather in March. It starts off being warmer. So it's kind of like that animal one where they just kind of started going straight into like how the weather is during the spring, but we didn't write our own. I think it's kind of like in March, the weather is ... We underlined the warmer part because that was kind of like getting us into it. But I'm going to say that yes, this is going to be a main idea. So there is more rain in the spring. Let's go ahead and underline that as a primary detail. Okay. Many plants become dormant during the winter. I could call that a main idea. This helps them save energy. So that one I want us to think about a little bit. So this helps them save energy. So this helps them save energy. Is that supporting the weather? Or is that telling us more information about the plants becoming dormant? Okay, so it's answering the question of, so if we said to them, many plants become dormant during the winter, and you said, why? Or tell me more. You would answer, well, it helps them save energy. So you're giving more information about that particular detail, okay? So it's like a detail on top of the detail. So that we're not going to underline as a primary detail, okay? We're going to skip that one and we're going to probably get to that one next. In some places, the ground is frozen over the winter. Is that telling us about the weather? Yeah, I'd say so. Let's underline that one. When the ground thaws, the seeds underground start to sprout. I think that's another detail. Plants and flowers grow again. That one can go both ways because we know that the ground thaws and seeds begin to sprout, and then plants and flowers growing again can help to support that the seeds, are starting to sprout. But it could also support that the weather is warmer. So I'm going to leave that one up to you. I'm going to leave that one as a secondary